Hi, Dennis Weiss for Eagle Communications. Welcome to our town. We are again using Great Plains Theater for two reasons. They always say yes, one, and number two, very cool background in the little art gallery they have down here. So today's guest is our new Chamber of Commerce Director, Allison Blake. I just met you a moment ago. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dennis.
I know you're just tremendously excited about Abilene and moderately excited to be on camera with me.
Very true.
Okay. All right. So I did 2 terms with the Chamber and been off for 2 years. That's something that's close to my heart. I believe in the power of business, and I believe in the power of organizations focused on business for positive change. So this should be an easy conversation for us, because you just took the job to make all that happen. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I did.
So tell us a little bit about who Allison Blake is and why you're here.
Well, I came to Wichita, or came to Abilene from Wichita most recently. I grew up in the suburbs of Wichita, spent grade school about 20 miles south of Wichita in Conway Springs, and then my high school years about 20 miles north of Wichita in Sedgwick, Kansas. And so small town girl at heart.
So somebody out there is thinking Conway Springs and Sedgwick, those are both sports powerhouses in their different eras over the years, Conway Springs especially.
That's true. I was gone from Conway Springs for the most part by the time they really came into their own, but still have family down there, so I definitely was in the loop about that, but I'm really more of a car girl than a sports girl. So.
All right. Well, everything that I talk about on the show, sooner or later, I connect it back to economic revitalization. It's why we started this show, to talk about good things happening here. So to continue in that vein, I'm a sports guy, but I am not the biggest sports fan in Abilene. I assure you, I love to play sports. I always have, but here's why it's on this show. So the things that bring people together are the ways that money is made. And in small town America, one of the things that consistently brings people together is public school events like sporting contests, baseball tournaments, volleyball tournaments, wrestling tournaments, all of those things. It's that flow of economic activity going around and around and around that in my view of the world is a huge driver of economic development.
I couldn't agree more, and I've actually been very impressed with the number of businesses I see locally that have, Abilene High School, stickers, and the town very visibly supports the high school, and I assume that sports are a big part of that. So.
They are, and I think there's a couple of things. As you may or may not know, Eagle Communications, we sell a lot of advertising. I'm on the broadband side. I sell internet and phone and television and services to make it all work. But we have a division that Dave works for that points a camera at people who want to sell garden hoses, who want to sell cars, who want to sell all fancy little dresses on Main Street, all of those things. We have customers in that group of people who their primary objective is to support local school events and teams because they identify with their brand wants to be identified with that. They don't talk much about their products and their product advertising in their advertising. They talk about Abilene in their advertising. It's a great strategy for small town Kansas. So Chamber of Commerce, you're a member-supported organization. You have a healthy and growing membership over the past 6 years. So what's your plans for the future? What are you going to do for us?
Honestly, my first step is to reach out to the current members and find out what we've been doing right and what they'd like to see happen in the future. Okay. And really encourage those current members to remain members and make sure that they're receiving the most from their benefits, and then from there reach out to additional members and show them what the Chamber has to offer, and make sure that we're supporting the local business community in the best way possible. So
you reach out? We reach out by walking, reach out by calling, reach out by typing, all of the above?
All of the above, although I'm very much an in-person kind of communicator.
Okay.
I do better one-on-one. I can send 1,000 emails in a day, but I don't think it's nearly as effective as walking into, you know, a local business and talking with the people that work there. And I don't just mean the owner. I like to visit with the actual, you know, employees, the people that keep things running from day to day. And I think that they're all valuable parts of the machine, as you will. So
that's good. If I had been interviewing you for the chamber directorship, I would have liked that answer. I consider this a big compliment from a local business person who also served on the chamber for a long time, and I think may still be there, Diane Miller, M&M Tire.
She's our treasurer.
In a public setting one time, she pointed at me and she said, you know, every time Dennis comes in, he asks the exact same question first, and that's how's business? Kansas, we're blessed that it's still a walk-in environment in small town Kansas. Most of Kansas would prefer you walk in and say, hello, how's business? How can I help? You know, that's not true everywhere in the world anymore.
That's very true.
But it is here. And so we're blessed by that.
I agree. You know, Abilene has been very warm and welcoming to me. I have never once felt like an outsider in this town, which is very impressive for a small town. A lot of places, if you weren't born and raised there, you may as well not even bother, but Abilene has never treated me that way, and that's been a very big asset in my opinion, and that was a big factor in my deciding to accept this position.
So what do you think of Abilene business? You undoubtedly did some research when you applied for the position.
I did.
Been around in and out of our community for a little while now, looking at us, so what do you think of us?
You know, there's a lot of diversity here. It's actually very impressive for a town this size. You know, you have everything from antique stores to, you know, individual boutiques, gift shops, but then you have a little bit of the, you know, bigger things that you might find in a larger community. You know, you've got a good-sized car dealership, a good-sized grocery store, you know, some chains, but it's very encouraging to me, the size and the vitality that I see in the locally owned and operated businesses.
You know, I think the most the biggest surprise that I think an outsider would find in Abilene if they came in and did a business survey, we're setting in 2 of them. Okay, we're setting in Great Plains Theater,
Yes.
which is 23rd season of professional theater in the heart of Kansas. There isn't anybody else ever done that. So that's a surprise for coming into town. But where they are, in the end of the old Alco building, which is now the Thunderstruck building, and Thunderstruck Bumpers is a very successful manufacturing shop,
Yes.
as is Rawhide Corral, as is Brierton Engineering, as is Land Pride, Great Plains Manufacturing. That level of manufacturing going on in a town of 6,500 people is astounding to the rest of the world.
That has been very impressive to me as well. And I was actually going to mention the manufacturing. I think it's incredible how the original owner of Land Pride had kind of, you know, branched out and is in the smaller communities as well. And I think that's very, very unique. And you know, he must have been an amazing businessman. I know the company's recently sold, but from what I understand from the employees, there hasn't really been any change as far as they're concerned, and to me that's a good transition. And of course I'd be remiss if I didn't mention all of the tourist attractions that we have here too that are just, you know, top notch. I mean, everyone has been to the Eisenhower Center if you grew up in Kansas, and then, you know, as you mentioned, Great Plains Theater here. That was one of the entities that was brought up quite a bit when I told people from Wichita that I was moving to Abilene.
Very cool.
You know, of course, the train history and culture that we have here. I mean, the first time I heard that steam train, it was
Isn't that something?
Amazing. Almost eerie, but very, very neat.
We're going to take a break. Folks, we'll be right back. Dennis Weiss back with Allison Blake, the new director of the Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce. That means she's your chamber director. We're in the middle of a laundry list of great things about the Abilene, Kansas area, and we talked about manufacturing. You segued to tourism. You said everybody in Kansas has been to Eisenhower. If they've, my goodness. So I have a long association through the camera lens with the Eisenhower Presidential Library and their staff and people there. I think I never tire of saying it to the camera about how big a deal it is to have not only a presidential library, which is, there's only 13 of those federal institutions in the country, but to have Dwight David Eisenhower's presidential library. That's a whole different scale of event. You know, that is a huge asset for Abilene that cannot be replicated in a town of 6,500 anywhere.
I agree.
Very, very, very cool. So it's up to us, the rest of us, the business community, the member organizations that represent business, and the tourist organizations, all of those, to take these assets and do something with them. So give us some future tidbits that you threw out on the table as you became this chamber director. What would you like to see happen in Abilene? What do you think, what direction should we go? What steps should we take to keep growing and going?
Well, you know, I've heard through the grapevine already about some new businesses coming to town. 24/7 is expanding, and then of course Love's truck stop is coming to town. And I know I had mentioned when I visited with the chamber board the first time, it's kind of a fine line with me. Of course, you always want the community to grow, but part of Abilene's charm is its size. And so I think that adding businesses and organizations to the city that are will help protect the historical and cultural integrity are paramount. So
yeah, I guess I've been involved in that discussion by accident many times since I've been here, and have served on a few boards, like namely the chamber. But you know, I've always tried to point out that if you're a preservationist, there's only one way that preservation can occur, and that is through growth, to have enough revenue to put a new board on the one where the termites eat it. Because the natural state of anything natural is decline, decay, and rot. So for preservation, there has to be a revenue stream to fix the old building, to put a new coat of paint on it, to, in our case, to go talk about it to the world. Come see the Seeley Mansion, you know, come see these things. You know, Terry Tegens has spent his entire adult life preserving history, and that's not setting on it.
No.
That is taking dollars and working to preserve it through growth. And so, you know, I think growth and preservation are actually just opposite ends of the same process. It's a mistake to separate them. My job is through growth. My job is to grow Eagle Communication, so my job is growth. But part of the reason we do that is to preserve what's here now and to make sure it's here for our kids and grandkids.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so what else are you going to do for us? Let's talk about some segments of the marketplace. Manufacturing, that's an easy one. I mean, we've got great manufacturers. How can a chamber, a member organization, help a manufacturing through advocation or direct action? What are some of your thoughts about that?
I think one of the things that Abilene needs to work on, and I'd like to become involved with some more organizations that advocate for resident retention and, you know, attracting new residents to Abilene so that they have the workforce for those manufacturing
well said.
places and the other, you know, businesses that are coming to town. And, you know, workforces, it's kind of a statewide problem. It's not just local, but it's something where we need to find ways to attract young people and retain the people who are here so that those businesses can continue to thrive. Another facet to that, of course, is housing. I can speak from personal experience
Sure.
and
You're looking
shopping
for
for
one.
housing, and
She needs a house.
and you know, and even looking for rentals when we decided, well, okay, maybe buying a house right now isn't quite the direction we're ready to go because we haven't quite found the right house.
Sure.
But I can appreciate, you know, how difficult it is for someone new coming to town to find a place to live. So that's certainly something I think we need to look at in the future as well, is you know, making sure we have adequate housing, and housing to attract, you know, people from the outlying communities as well.
I've never claimed that my responses here are solely the basis of original thought, but I'll go back to, I always ask, how's business? And then the follow-up question is, what can I do to help? What do you need? And it's just called listening and repeating, so I am going to repeat what somebody has told me many times in response to that question in our market area, not just here, but around. And it's, I need more and better workers, and I need more places for them to live. And then the follow-up to that is, what kind of worker do you need? What are you looking for? And we need all kinds, but we would love to have young professionals in middle management, and we want young vocational-minded people who want to work in a trade. Plumbing, electrical, welding, all of the car mechanics, tractor mechanics. That field in our area is just begging for people. And there are jobs here.
Oh, there are.
Well, good paying jobs here.
Yes, very much so. When we looked at, well, will we relocate together to Abilene or will we relocate together to Wichita, it made more sense for me to come here, even though I had, you know, been in a successful profession there for many years. But, you know, my partner has a good paying job here and has been there for several years, and finding something to replicate that in Wichita wouldn't have been easy.
So you're telling us we win twice when we got you for chamber director because of that decision. We got to keep your partner as well.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes. That was
one of my benefits, just walked by while I go over there off camera. You know, the young people, college educated people that want to do something, want to do something with their life to come home. That's the holy grail of small town economic reinvestment and revitalization strategies, and it's a hard one to answer because it's a personal decision, right? So my daughter just walked by out there a while ago, and she was in Texas, and Great Plains Theater desperately needed a marketing director, somebody who could take the vision forward and up, right? Instead of the executive director, who's her mother, doing that other hat today. So if you look at the change in Great Plains Theater over the last few years, there's a lot of reasons for it, mostly all around hard work, but it's promoted by a single vision, and the community has responded in order to have staffing levels come to a place where it can actually work. So we as a family are enjoying having our daughter back in the area, but I'm telling you, as an employer here, they're greatly enjoying having that young professional come back home to Abilene. As a community, we should be celebrating every time we see one of those people. Dave and I have interviewed at Chapman High School several times, and there are several teachers in our local school networks that came home for teaching jobs. That is just hallelujah. It's a moment, you know, you have those young families coming home to work and to grow and to live. So we got a minute left. I told you it'd go by like that. All right, you get to tell the camera what you're going to say to them when you knock on their business door, and whatever you want to say as we finish off here would be very cool.
I think the biggest question that I will ask all the businesses is, how can we help? What can we do to make your business grow? And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're here for.
I would agree completely, and I'd bring a pen and a pencil and a big chief tablet to write that down
absolutely.
on too. All right. Okay, so enjoyed meeting you, Allison Blake, the new director of the Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce. Wish you well in your job.
Thank you so much,
It's an important
Dennis.
position in our community, really is. It's one of the things that makes all of this go. So anything that Eagle Communications can do to help you, or Dennis Weiss or David Hawksworth behind the camera, you just let us know. All right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Folks, we hope you enjoyed meeting our new chamber director today. If you see her on the street, welcome her to Abilene. Extend the hand and say thanks for coming. I work for Eagle Communications. My name is Dennis Weiss, wishing you a great day.